I just got home from the movies seeing Young Woman and the Sea, Disney's new inspirational sports film starring Daisy Ridley, and I'm stuck with one question. Why does it feel like they're hiding this really good movie?
The thing you love most, it terrifies me. I can't imagine if something happens to you.
They're rooting against you, Trudy. They want the water to win.
I came all this way. Might as well see England.
So yeah, here I was last week seeing this movie coming out, and I have parents coming into town, and instead of going to the movies, to see this movie, I had to wait a bit because I was spending time with family, and I want to take them out to the IMAX so they can see Furiosa, which they both loved. But I saw really great reviews by this, and I know it's not a general wide release from Disney, but as somebody who's now just gotten home to see the movie himself, this is actually a really enjoyable, good movie that Disney put together. And I'm gonna talk about it here, but I'm still like, the main question after my main review and kind of what we'll delve into is, why is Disney hiding this movie? It feels, because I have to say it is a charming, fun, family kind of inspirational sports film, a period piece per se, and one of the better ones we've had in a lot of recent years. The main star of this movie is going to be Daisy Ridley, who we all know played Rey back in the Star Wars day, but she's playing Trudy Ederle here, the woman who is, ends up, as a daughter of an immigrant family, is able to overcome the boundaries of the 1920s for females, and becomes the first woman to swim the English Channel ever. And we really go through Trudy's journey here in life, from when she barely survived measles at the very beginning of the movie to the triumph of her swimming the channel and everything that takes place there. Now, to start off the bat here, just reading even just, the Gertrude Ederle's, the real person's Wikipedia page, this isn't like a one-for-one truth-telling story of what happened. I feel it probably hits a lot of the similar beats per se, and they give a lot of, dramatization to make it seem as if, it was more, drama than there was. But I still think there's a lot of drama and a lot of history here, and I don't think the movie does anything wrong with how they depict the story. But Ridley playing Trudy just gives a really earnest, strong performance for a character that is just always having to prove themselves in a world where women aren't exactly in a position to have that power and have that say. They're just coming past the era of getting their votes, but they're still being, treated as kind of, I want to say second-class citizens, but their expectations are very similar of, you're going to get an arranged marriage, you're going to be working kind of the shop, you're going to be cooking dinner, you need to be heavily clothed, you can't show yourself out to the public. And the movie does a very big point of job of highlighting that and what it was like in the early 20s and the late teens per se. But Ridley was able to emotionally connect with both me and audience member, but I feel everybody in her cast with her family, and ends up being somebody I root for this whole entire movie, which is really easy to do with inspirational sports movies. But I feel Ridley's performance as Trudy Ederle goes above and beyond here into something that I will get into more later on when we talk about why is Disney maybe hiding this movie right now. I think it's just her best work to date. And if there's ever something that should be putting Daisy Ridley out of the Rey Star Wars kind of typecast trap role, it should be Young Woman and the Sea here. Another standout for me is going to be Tilda Cobham Hervey, who played her, Trudy's sister Meg, and seeing Meg's own story progress and unprogress alongside Trudy, kind of being the kid who is being left behind by the more popular athletic one at points, and seeing her adjust to the norms of the world and the world that she's giving in. I just think that Tilda did a very good job with Meg, and it's a very important character to Trudy and Ridley's journey throughout. And it's a good emotional beat, and she has her moments. And I think, Cabo and Harvey Tilda is able to deliver those moments very, very, very well, and I think makes this movie even better. Kim Bodina plays Henry Ederle, Trudy's father, and he plays this mix of father who wants to believe and support his daughter, and also being a traditional immigrant father who kind of has his worldview set in some ways, and Trudy and those around him are kind of pushing his boundaries out and letting him see different lights and different perspectives. But Kim here plays that character very entertainingly, very well. He feels grounded. He feels real. He feels like he belongs in that time period as a period piece, but he feels like somebody you can get attached to and you can relate to even almost a full century later. Then there's Jeanette Hayne, who plays Trudy's mother, and her, fierceness and her ability to really deliver why it was important for her daughters to learn how to swim and fighting for Trudy so much as a young child, I thought was just very well done. And then as the channel swim is going on, her acting and her just worry for her daughter's life really does add a lot of suspense and a lot of emotion to some of these scenes per se. And I think Hayne did an amazing job there in that type of a role. But overall, this cast is well cast all around. And I just think that the story here, while it feels basic, was able to be delivered in a satisfying way. And was just a very enjoyable time in the theaters. I really felt that it captured that 20s aesthetic. I don't think the budget was very heavily put into this movie, which is fine. We don't need big budgeted movies, but for what it was paying for, I felt it represented kind of that time period for both New York and the world. I think seeing Trudy's struggles and pushing herself up in the world was very well written and very well acted out by Ridley and others around her. Another popular character is Charlotte, who is Trudy's, lady swim teacher, played by Cian Clifford, who is nothing but a pure ball of charisma when she's on screen. And I loved how that character changed to Trudy as time went on and how she developed as a character, and just seeing the effect that Trudy was having on the world and seeing it through the eyes of her family. I just think that this is a story that I didn't know about before seeing this movie, and I'm kind of ashamed that I don't know about it because, Gertrude Ederle being the first woman to swim the English Channel and seeing the reception she got both after the film in real life, but also during the film, this was a very big deal to American history in my mind. And especially in an era where women's sports, even nowadays, we see it with Caitlin Clark, is trying to push through what I would call a glass ceiling to just general audiences. Here's a story of something that most people probably have no idea is true or has happened in the past, that I just think sheds a very big light on that. And all around, I'm giving Young Woman in the Sea a solid diamond. I think the score for this movie, done by Amelia Warner, was probably the absolute best part. Cinematography and everything else was very good overall, but I think the score really brings the movie forward and puts it into that diamond level for me. Again, Ridley's performance as Trudy was very well done, and it's a movie that I recommend anybody go see in theaters, especially if you like sports movies. I think you'll have a good time and you'll enjoy this movie. But now let's transition this from the amazing praise I'm giving to Young Woman in the Sea by Disney to ask the important question. Why is Disney hiding this, what I would consider a gem of a movie, from the public? There's been next to no advertising for it. They're not really pushing box office numbers for it. They're not even saying how many theaters it's in. They're not releasing box office numbers. They're just going off of general guesses with the reporting out there. And it's so confusing. One thing we've heard people say is that they're hoping that Young Woman in the Sea can get a big awards push at the end of the year, and maybe it won't win any awards, but it's a movie that can pick up nominations, whether it be Best Actress for Daisy Ridley. Maybe it gets in as a Best Picture nominee at the end of the year. Best Score, I think, of thinking of scores right now, it could be up there. Now, I don't know if this movie is Best Picture contender like. I mean, granted, right now for me, it would be in my top 10 movies of the year so far. But there's a lot of great movies about to come out still. And there's a lot of great movies that have came out already that maybe aren't even in my top 10, but probably are going to be Best Picture nominees. So I don't know how much I believe that fully. I mean, I do know if this movie came out and had this lower box office, it might be cast aside when it comes to the award season. But I do think if this movie let it have good word of mouth and really put it out there, I think this movie could have thrived, in my opinion, and delivered a higher than expected box office. Um, and maybe we'll get that as more people like me go to see it and say, like, no, this is actually was a really good movie. You should go check it out in theaters while you still have it. That brings me to my next point, though. When I say while it's in still theaters, with the Olympics coming later this year, with this having ties to the Olympics in a big international type story, I think this movie is going to make a big play on Disney Plus when it comes out and hits there, either in late June or early July. This very clearly is a movie that I think would work very well at a home theater. I think you should go out and see it in theaters for the quality, and it should earn that money. But I think Disney knows this is a movie that is going to do very well on Disney Plus. And I think it hits that marketplace very, very well. And it's an easy, inspirational, historic sports movie you can pair besides the Olympics and kind of celebrate an American hero athlete of the past, a pioneer for women's sports. And that is my guess on why it's not being talked about as much in theaters now, because they don't want to have this negative press of, oh, this movie underperformed in theaters. Oh, this movie, wasn't able to drive an audience, per se. And it gets a bunch of negative feeling once it hits Disney Plus. People are like, nobody wanted to go see it in theaters, so we're not going to check it out there. Maybe this is a marketing ploy to try to get more people to tune into it in Disney Plus and create a more positive word of mouth, like I'm doing right now, asking, why is this not being pushed out further? Why is this not a wide release? Why is this not being treated like The Boys in the Boat was during holiday season? Because I think it's very similar to that movie, better than that movie in my mind, but very similar in that light. I also worry, because this is a very feminist feeling movie with both Daisy Ridley, who a lot of toxic individuals will use her as the mascot on why the Star Wars sequel trilogies don't work. I don't blame Daisy Ridley for that. I think she acted, what she was told to act like as Rey, and I think here, as Trudy Ederle, proves she is quite a good actress when you give her the role and the chance. On top of it being that a more, suffrage 1920s women's gaining their rights type film, there's a lot of people in the conservative marketplace who probably would love this movie, might see this and point to, why is Disney being so woke? Why are they trying to make this all about women? Because granted, I think it's ridiculous for people to say that type of stuff. But then when I put out movies and comments of why the box office isn't doing well, so many comments are coming through for me and other people when I go through their videos. We don't want to, we're tired of the woke agenda. And I think Disney was worried by maybe making this movie a bigger deal that it would bring a lot of this negative woke agenda attention of the general audience, or the general hating audience of Disney and a lot of other movie studios in Hollywood right now. Because granted, why does making a movie about a woman pioneer have to be seen as a negative? But for some people out there, they'll be like, why didn't you do this story? Why didn't you do this movie? It's just it's annoying. There'll be claims of it being in part of the Disney's woke agenda, and given maybe they want to make an awards push, maybe they want to make this into a push for the Olympics, they're worried that would have taken shape if they made a bigger deal about this movie coming out in theaters and pushed it more. Either way, it's a huge disservice for both Ridley, the director, and everybody a part of this movie, that this movie is kind of being hidden in a way. This is a very good movie, and one that I think, given the box office that we've seen recently, might have done a lot better than they would have expected. I'm not saying it would have been a top 10 summer box office hit, but I think if this was given proper marketing, if it was given proper introduction, I think Disney could have had a decent sports hit on their hands and a very positive word of mouth story. But we'll see what happens as weeks goes on. Maybe this picks up more theaters. Maybe because there's people like me asking, like, "Yo, why, why you no talk about this?" It'll get to that point, and when it does hit Disney Plus, hopefully it will explode when people have the easier access to see this incredible story and incredible tale. But until then, you're going to be seeing more just basic summer blockbuster reviews here because that's kind of what's coming out mainly. We have Bad Boys for Life here, A Quiet Place Day One, other movies that I'll do. I put short reviews up for The Acolyte, the first 2 episodes. The Boy is coming out soon. I'll be giving reviews for, as well as House of the Dragon season 2, and anything else I can find in there. I'm looking for a good classic movie, so any classic movie recommendations, put in the comments down below. I need to do a classic movie review to make myself happy. But until then, I wish everybody a happy summer here coming up, and please, if you have the chance, if you're looking for something to go see in theaters or later on the watch on streaming, find a way to watch this year. Young Woman in the Sea. It was an absolute joy and just a really important, good story. I think that should have been told and people should be made aware of much sooner in history. Like I said, I feel ashamed not knowing about this. As a 32-year-old adult who loves sports, I've never heard of Judy Ederle be talked before that, and I think seeing this movie makes me be like, I wish I did. But until next time, please like and sub to the channel if you like this content. And yeah, I'll see you around.